Welcome to The Human Athlete, a podcast about life after sport and how to win it. I'm Jared Markowitz. I started this show because I've always been fascinated by what happens after the final whistle, when athletes have to rebuild purpose, discipline, and identity outside of competition. Every episode, you'll hear honest conversations with former athletes who are learning to lead, perform, and live with meaning beyond the game. Because the lessons sport teaches us can help us all live stronger, more intentional lives. Travis, welcome to the show.
I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. So I think it's important with all of our conversations to just talk a little bit about your athletic experience, give our audience a little bit of an idea of where you're coming from and why it's important that you're here telling your story. So talk us through, and I think personally, I think it's important to talk a little bit, just at least briefly, about your high school career, because right now with NCAA football as it stands, and I think that even Wisconsin sports in the last, or Wisconsin football in the last 3 to 5 years, you're a Wisconsin native playing for the Badgers. That used to be kind of the norm.
Yeah.
Not as much anymore. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about that. Plus, I'm from Slinger, so I know Oak Creek and Bayview quite well.
Yeah. So great question, because I think it is very important for the university to make sure that we are keeping the home talent
at home
here. From Milwaukee, went to Oak Creek High School. I was in Bayview. I lived in Bayview, but really saw the success that Coach Cook had at Oak Creek High School. It wasn't only about just having success on the field, but teaching these kids to be young men and what to do off the field, staying out of trouble. And so got to Oak Creek, and it was with me being in Milwaukee public school system my whole life, it was a shock, a culture shock to go out to Oak Creek. Just had my one friend that I knew that I played football with, but yeah, we made it work, and it was a great learning experience. It was, but it was one of those. I knew it was me having to take that next step in order to try and put myself in the best position to have success to play at the next level.
Okay.
And I had a great relationship with Coach Cook, and my freshman year was again, like I said, a culture shock, but well worth it.
Yeah, cool. So then success, obviously, to the point of getting to UW and playing for the Badgers. Were you a scholarship athlete out of the gate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So a full ride scholarship. And I think one of the biggest things too is that in high school, I think the Badgers did a really good job of recruiting me. It was Coach Bielema. I was a linebacker in high school. Coach Bielema, which at the time was a linebackers coach, become Coach Alvarez. Brian White was linebackers coach. So they were all engaged and really had that impact on me. But I wanted to be a Badger. And also my parents financially wouldn't, especially my mom, wouldn't be able to afford to go elsewhere, for me to go elsewhere and be able to make it to my games.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin made sense. The success of the team was obviously a contributing factor
At that time, for sure.
And but yeah, it was easy to stay home, and I'm very proud to be able to represent that Motion W on my chest.
Yeah. And really, I mean, what I think is cool is that, we talk about transition a lot in this podcast, because it's often about not just the rise to success and stardom as an athlete, but the essentially fallout, and I hate to use like a negative word that way, but of, sport disappearing for an individual. For you, you had a change and a transition within your collegiate career, and then transitioning into the NFL because you changed positions.
Yeah.
You changed sides of the football, really.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing is I think with life in general, not just sports, you have to be able to adapt with change. Some people are very stuck in their ways and don't embrace change. But I think in order to grow and learn more, because at one point I was at the top, I felt like I was at the top of the world, and I was still wanting to learn more and be able to craft my brand. But yeah, it's just I think I think the more that you can grasp as growing up and trying to figure out what your craft is and just being able to adapt, because again, going back to your question is more so. I was the number 6 linebacker coming out of high school.
Okay.
I thought
In the state?
in the state.
Okay.
Yep. So the number 1 player in the state, number 6 linebacker in the country. So I was set on playing linebacker at
I'm a
UW.
linebacker.
I was set. I was set at being a linebacker for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I get to UW, and my thing is like I'm the number 1 recruit. Like I should just be able to walk in there, and my spot should be held for me.
Sure.
And that's not how it works. That's not how it works. I was in for a rude awakening. But it is very interesting to see how college sports has changed. But kind of going back to my experience, yeah, I mean, I pretty much walked in UW and was like, okay, everything's gonna be laid out for me. And to say that my freshman year was probably the most challenging year would be an understatement.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to learn a lot. I had to grow. I was still a boy, very immature. I think my now fiance would probably say I'm still immature, but
I mean, hey, we're all guys. We're gonna
gotta
get
be
there.
a kid at heart.
We need to get humbled, if nothing else, from our spouses or significant others. So yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, my freshman year was really tough, but I think it just made my story that much better.
Yeah. So I want to understand this, and I want to hear from you. You know, how did the whole conversation go? Hey, coach brings you into the office and says, "Hey, Travis, we love you as a linebacker, but this, there's an opportunity here as a tight end." Like, how did that whole process go, and how did that back and forth go for you, and what was going through your head?
Yeah, so great question. So I played linebacker my freshman year. Halfway through the year, I switched to defensive end because I wasn't playing at all.
Okay.
Switched to defensive end, thinking that was going to give me an opportunity to get on the field.
Yep.
Probably played 2 games in like the last 2 minutes of the game, just kind of as a reserve, like a 3rd string reserve. So
sure.
Keep in mind that this is coming from me being the number 1 player in the state, basically having the defense revolve around me, and I wasn't able to contribute my freshman year. And what really it took, we went into bowl prep for Auburn. Okay. And I was playing scout tight end against our starting defense to give them looks for the bowl game.
Okay.
And I was catching everything, and it was coaches like, "Man, Travis, where's this coming from?" Receivers patting me on your back. Like that was what I was used to in high school. Like,
sure. And
just the camaraderie, just the people depending on me, and just from those few looks on the scout team, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should consider making this change. So I went to Coach Bielema at the time because he was a linebackers coach. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, this is
pre
still the
him being the head coach. Yeah.
So and he's recruited me my whole career to be a linebacker, and then I go to the office and basically tell him, like, hey, I want to get your thoughts on me moving over to tight end.
Okay.
And he literally laughed. And
Bielema did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, no, the coach, like, with straight face, like I'm being serious about this. Like, I want to have an impact. I want to have a change. I want to be able to bring something to the table for this team. And last year just wasn't it. Like, right. That's not my why. I need to feel fulfilled. And so he was like, okay, I see you're being serious. He goes, run it past Coach Chris. At the time, Coach Chris was the offensive coordinator.
Okay.
No, Coach Chris was the
quarterback's
coach.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, yep.
Quarterback's coach.
Yep.
And so I went to Coach Chris. He loved it. And
probably because of what he saw in scout team, right? Like, he's like,
exactly.
Hey man, I'll take you. You can catch a ball all the time. Like, bring it on.
Exactly. And he was like, man, I thought this guy was just a linebacker last year. Now he's catching these balls and in bowl prep, and now so then I make the transition over to spring ball, and they start me there, and I think it really took about 5 games with John Stocco, was our quarterback at the time, to really develop that trust in me.
Okay.
And it was the Michigan game at Michigan. I think it was 2006. And we lost the game, but it was like the last drive where I had 2 or 3 big catches that really earned his trust.
Yeah.
So I can put our team in a position to have success. And
When we need it,
exactly,
you got the guy who's
Exactly.
like your go-to
exactly,
kind of safety
who
valve.
can I depend?
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. Okay.
And so, yeah, from that point on, the rest was history.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing was really building that chemistry and building that trust with Stocko. And yeah, that was the whole transition of me switching positions. It was literally Bielema laughing, Coach Chris embracing it,
Yeah.
and the rest was history.
So I want to touch on this because it's interesting to me, at least. What kind of work did you do? And I think when I say work, I do mean both from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint. Between, so the bowl game ends against Auburn, right? And now in your head you're going, all right, I'm transitioning my role from defense to offense. And if you know anything about football, like it's a very much, you go from a much more reactive state to a much more proactive state.
Yeah.
You know what's happening as an offensive player. You know what's coming. You still have to react ultimately, but like you're able to dictate some things. In defense, you're kind of just figuring out things as you go, and it's a very reactive, responsive thing. And so what work did you go through and put in between the end of that bowl game and spring practices, again, mentally and physically, to make that shift for yourself?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that I had to learn the offensive playbook, and it took me a while. Like I'm a very visual learner. I need to walk through things and it's a huge investment for coaches. And I would have to spend a ton of time after practice, before practice, walking through things. Cause I was always the defensive side of the guy.
Yeah.
And I will say that, when I played high school, like I was just an athlete. I had a ton of athletics. I was God-given talent. Like some of the things that I could do just weren't, you can't teach that.
Or like it made up for any
exactly
like inability to understand what's going on.
Exactly.
It's just like you
The
had so much
talent
more
just-
speed, power, explosiveness.
Talent just took over. That only gets you so far.
For sure.
And so, but really having to learn the offense, the playbook was one of the biggest things. Yeah, it did help on the defensive side of the ball when you see motions and seeing where guys are going, or basically on the offensive side of the ball, seeing the defensive schemes and being able to read defenses.
Yeah.
Pre-snap, which is a little bit drastically different than college and in the NFL. But it did give me an advantage. But I would say probably mentally was just learning the playbooks and the cadence and the chemistry with John Stocko was probably the biggest challenge.
Cool. I mean, to me, that's interesting, right? Because it's a huge shift, and you even said it yourself, right? You're coming in going, I'm a linebacker until I'm not playing football anymore. And all of a sudden, I mean, to me, that takes a whole heck of a lot of cojones and wherewithal to be like, I'm going to make this switch and put as much vigor into it as I have to being a linebacker, which again is evident by the success you had, right? So Wisconsin football goes well for you to the point that you get drafted in the third round by the New York Giants. And I mean, and that in and of itself, people that don't understand the NFL draft, I mean, there are at that point 32 teams with 30. Okay.
32.
Okay, so 32 teams, so we're in the about 100 draft picks, 100 players in the nation where you get drafted by a team. So they're essentially saying, hey, you've now become not just one of the best high school linebackers going to college, but you've transcended to become one of the 100 best players coming out of college, going to the NFL, where now you're going to get paid to do this thing. Right. So talk to me about that experience of just the beginning and the transition from being a collegiate athlete to now your experience as a drafted, and I'm going to assume, and so I don't, because it's hard sometimes to find this information, but you got signed to a rookie contract as a third round pick, right? So talk to me about just that whole process for you and how that shifted, because I know I've heard from others too, right? Like the game speeds up and changes so much.
Yeah. So I think, what do they say? And I don't even know if I don't even think that this is still true. What do they say? Your brain doesn't fully develop until you're like 25.
I think that from the prefrontal cortex, that's
Yeah.
definitely true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're still a kid,
Yeah,
essentially,
exactly.
male or female,
Yeah.
right until that age. Yeah.
So, so in college, it was more about school and football, and extremely blessed to be able to play at the next level. I had a lot of injuries throughout my career. My senior year was cut short because I broke my leg. Only played 5 games my senior year, and still being able to get drafted in the third round was a blessing to the New York Giants. Um, but when you get into the NFL, it's a job, and people are providing for their livelihood. Those coaches are, those strength coaches are, the nutritionists are. You as a player are you have a brand, and you need to provide for yourself. In college at the time, it was more so. Yes, the coaches had to provide. They had to put the best players on the field to have success. But now these guys are getting paid. These guys are making decisions. It's transactional. And the toughest part is, I think college, it was more so about the family concept.
Cool. Yeah.
NFL, they preach the family concept, but for instance, my fourth year, after my fourth year, when my contract is done, I don't get re-signed, and I tore my ACL in the Super Bowl. My third
Yeah.
year, came back the next year, tore cartilage in my other knee. But there's no contract with family. Like, this is
You're
family,
always family.
no matter what.
Yeah.
And so, but to go back to your question regarding the contract. So yes, I was signed to a 4-year contract, and it was crazy because I mean, your rookie year, you you go to OTAs. I think it's off-season training
Activities.
are optional. They say it's optional, but it's not optional.
So, I mean, it's optional if you're Aaron Rodgers
Yeah,
playing for the Packers in his 14th
yeah,
season,
yeah,
but it's not for a rookie coming in. Like, you got to be there.
yeah.
You got to show
Yeah.
people
You
that
got to
you
show people
are
that you're worth, especially coming off of a senior year where you broke your leg.
right.
So this is my first time practicing too, in, I don't know, 7, 8 months. And so, no, actually longer than that. So, but we're at OTAs, and then we get done with that. It's about 3 weeks, and before you go home, there's like, all right, well, here's your signing bonus, and signing bonus, they just give you a check for $687,000. Keep in mind, like, I'm still, what am I, 20, 22, 21 years old. And
coming from a background where you're going to UW partially because your family's able to actually afford to travel to watch the games, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's a big change.
So, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, but I think that was really when I realized it was real, and signed a 4-year contract. You just, the biggest difference between the NFL and college is that it's a job. It's not corporate America, but it's a job.
Yeah.
And it's a job that gives you the opportunity, or that gives you the ability to use your talent and your physical ability to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Which is drastically different than corporate America.
And simultaneously, far more cutthroat.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I mean,
Absolutely.
But at the same point too, and this is a conversation that I had, and I can't recall if Alex Erickson and I had a conversation just like this, and I don't know if it was on the actual podcast or just conversations that we've had otherwise, but $687,000.
Yeah.
There's very, very few jobs in the world
Yeah.
where that's the kind of money you can
Yeah.
make and just get a check cut
Yeah.
for that. Those jobs that do exist are, let's just say that that's not some owner who's developed a company over 20 years and whatever else, right? If that job were to exist, it'd probably also be pretty darn cutthroat.
No, absolutely.
Everybody wants that job, wants to get
Absolutely.
paid that kind of money, and so it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
When you break it all down. But I think so, and the Super Bowl experience, I think, is incredible, and I think honestly that could be for another time, because I want to talk about, for you, like, you had, and again, this is the perseverance piece.
Yeah.
That when I looked through what you did and where you came from, and even what you're doing now, I see perseverance as a word that just kind of hangs over your head,
Yeah.
right? You get injured, well, change positions, right? Then at kind of the peak of what you're doing, where you're really coming into your own as a linebacker, or sorry, as a tight end, you break your leg,
Yeah.
which in and of itself could just shut somebody down and be like, man,
Yeah.
this is it for me.
Yeah.
Then you go and you are blessed enough to get drafted by the Giants, get a contract, get an opportunity, and get superseded by somebody, but then get opportunities with them. And then in the Super Bowl that you end up winning,
Yeah.
tear your ACL.
Yeah.
So talk me through your mentality around injuries, because you've sustained some substantial ones
Yeah.
in your career. And in both of those instances I'm speaking to, you came back. Like
Yeah.
you found out other opportunities, at least
Yeah.
with other organizations, or getting drafted.
Yeah. That's the biggest challenge with sports. And if you talk to any athlete from elementary school all the way up to the professional level, injuries are the worst thing from obviously a physical standpoint, but mentally, it's how do you overcome? So it was really a crazy scenario of injuries that I went through. So it was like my junior year in college, had the opportunity to come out, but the last game of the season dislocated my shoulder, had to have surgery. Last game of the season, my senior season, broke my leg, had to have surgery. Get drafted. Rookie year was good. Actually had another surgery after my shoulder.
Same shoulder?
After to clean it up.
Yeah.
After my rookie year. Second season was good in the NFL. No surgery. Third season was the Super Bowl. Tore my ACL in the Super Bowl. Come back the next year, tear cartilage in my other knee. That was the end of my contract year. Then I'm working out to play with the Seahawks. Then I have sports hernia surgery. So it was just and I didn't even talk about the soft tissue injuries where I'm pulling hamstrings left and right in training camp in the NFL, and just it tests you. And I just remember having tearing my hamstring and just looking at a normal person walking, and I was like, I'm limping because I just wish that I could have their hamstring. And just the injuries, they just continued to play a toll on me to where it was like, I mean, yeah, you question yourself, but at the same time, I had a purpose, and I knew that was football.
Yeah.
And my whole career, like I had, and which is awesome because I know we'll talk about this, but I have the ability to really help the current student athletes not have tunnel vision. My football was my only way out.
Yeah.
And when you have tunnel vision, you forget about other things. You don't worry about networking and building your brand and thinking outside the box and creating relationships. And now keep in mind, I did build a ton of really good relationships because I think it's really good at the end of the day just to be a good human. And as hard as it is for some people, that's one thing that I is a good person. But I had tunnel vision, and sports was my only way out. And just having all of those injuries limit me to going to the next level or getting that second contract or being able to use my physical ability to pay the bills is extremely daunting. And like I said, this goes all the way back to athletes, even in elementary school. Obviously, they're not paying the bills, but just it's tough.
Well, right. And I mean, I think that, and we could, there's just so many tangents we can go down here, right? Because I think about all these kids nowadays who are getting overused, and there's Tommy John surgeries happening at 10 years old for kids and stuff like this. And it's like, they haven't even had a chance to fall in love with the sport, and so it's frustrating to me, right? And again, we will get to this, but I think for you and what you went through, what I'm just really curious about is, was there one thing, or was there kind of that deciding factor or person or whatever it might be that, I mean, you talked about, I don't know, I couldn't count along the way, but 6 legitimate, challenging surgery-based injuries or something along those lines over the course of that time frame. What was the thing that kept getting you through each time you're sitting there going, I can't
Yeah.
walk like that person down the
Yeah.
street. And yet my goal is to, in the next 2 to 3 months or
Yeah.
5 months, play football again at the highest level.
Yeah. I and that's a great question. I would say, um, I'm a giver,
Okay.
and I like to make other people happy. I like seeing happiness in other people. I like seeing other people succeed by me playing a role in their success.
Okay.
And so, a lot of times it was my mom, and just seeing her run up and down the sidelines, and knocking people over because she's trying to record, not realizing that there's stuff in front of her. So a
I
lot of
love
it
that
was
visual.
was really my was really my mom helping me guide through the challenges. But really, I just knew that football was my only way out, and I couldn't just give up until, I mean, when you talk about, um, 2014, when I'm in training camp with the New Orleans Saints, and
Mm-hmm.
this is when Jimmy Graham is in his prime, and
Mm-hmm.
I had my best training camp. And it's crazy because I say I had my best training camp because I was healthy,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the first training camp that I went through that I didn't get injured. And so, um, but I was also I wasn't actually enjoying the game because I was spending so much time in the cold tub, in the hot tub, soaking. These guys are going out having dinners. I'm like, I got to take care of my body because, keep in mind, these injuries are, as I'm getting
Piling
older,
up.
they're piling up. Um, so, yeah, I knew I needed to figure out, um, an avenue, a way to get through, and persevere. Because I'm a big believer in any path without obstacles probably doesn't lead anywhere. And if it's easy, it's something's going on.
Not
It's
worth
it's a,
doing,
it's a little
probably.
fishy. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that I would probably say, um, just really having the perseverance, and figuring out my why. Again, my mom helped me push through it, but I know at the end of the day, if I want something to get done, I need to do it myself. And I just think that, I set the bar really high for myself, and I expect a ton out of myself. And I think that I would probably say, like, myself was really like my biggest motivator, with trying to overcome these obstacles and injuries.
Belief in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I like that a lot. Um, and so sport ends, and just context for the listeners too, at that time you have your best training camp ever with the Saints. But Jimmy Graham was literally an all pro
Hmm.
tight end at that time, right? I mean, so you're competing essentially for second string and
Yeah.
maybe some reps here and there.
It was four strings. So they had, like, Ben Watson. They had a third string tight end. This is when they were utilizing three tight ends,
Oh
and
man.
so, they were stacked. And that was when I went to, again, keep in mind, I had my best training camp, and I just remember after practice going upstairs, sitting to Sean Payton. And if you watch, like Hard Knocks and stuff, and when they go down, they get the players, they take them. That's really what it's like.
Mm.
And so I go upstairs and I talk with Sean Payton. He goes, Travis, you've done nothing but, great things since you've been here, but it comes down to a numbers game, and, like, you have to accept it.
Right.
And it is a part of the business. It's a terrible part of the business, but it is a part of the business. And
Yeah.
just having that cut short, um, is extremely daunting, both, both mentally, and then you're like, man, I'm in a spot now where my body's actually feeling decent. And yeah, that was my last stint in football.
Yeah. Well, and everything I've heard too, I mean, from a standpoint of Sean Payton, probably one of the most beloved
Yeah,
coaches, and talk about someone who's, it seems like, has been able to develop a pretty solid family
yeah,
mentality,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
In the NFL,
absolutely.
which
Yeah,
is, like you said, hard to do. It's
yeah,
a business, but at the end of the day, it's you know, maybe partially his decision, and
mhm,
and large part people above him,
yeah,
and so it's like there's only so much he can do. And I think there's some differences, right, between the NFL and the cutthroatness of it versus corporate America, where someone's beloved,
yeah,
like, we can find a spot for you.
yeah,
There's only 53 spots on the
yeah,
NFL
yeah,
roster
yeah,
come game day, and so you can love somebody
yeah,
and also be like,
Yeah, and that's the tough part too, because then that was out of my rookie contract. So then that's when, in order to have a guy on the roster is much more expensive. So now
Mm-hmm.
you're really nitpicking everything, and it's like, okay, well, if I need to pay $1 million for him, I mean, I can pay this guy league minimum. I can pay him $350,000, and he's 4 years younger than him,
Right.
which makes sense. So
Right.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. So then tell me about that. Like for you, those first, I mean, that first off season, I mean, really probably actually the first season,
Yeah.
right? Because obviously you get cut before that NFL season starts, and that's 2014. For you, like what are you going through emotionally? What are you going through physically? Like what were you leaning on, or what did you kind of dig into?
Yeah. Um, Emotionally was probably the toughest part, because again, it was injuries that were limiting me.
Yeah.
From a talent standpoint, I still had a ton of talent. I was still able, and that's one of the hardest things to do is when it's 2014 or 2015 or 2016 and you're watching the NFL and you're like, this guy was on my team before and I'm playing over him. And I have way more talent than this guy, but physically I can't do it.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part from a mental standpoint. But physically, it's just, I think God has a purpose. I think everything happens for a reason. And I was just at a point now where I couldn't recover like I used to.
Yeah.
And
Just for context, because I mean, I think it's also important for people to understand. Because one of the reasons why this is fascinating to me, this whole concept of athletics, right? It's the one profession when you become a professional in it, or you
yeah,
you get paid for it, that at some point you realize, oh wait, I can't do this my whole
yeah,
life. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
you're now speaking in corporate America, you get a job for a company, you could elevate through that company and literally retire with that
yeah,
company at age 65 or 70 or
hmm,
whatever. You don't have the opportunity for that.
yeah,
So just as you're going through that, um, I'm curious, like how that mentally played into the whole thing too.
yeah. So the NFL is one of those sports that doesn't have like isn't wasn't big with guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Um, and you look at some of these basketball contracts and like it'd be $80 million, but it's like 75. Those agents, they're awesome. Those are the people making the deals, because you never know, because an injury at any time could detriment, like put a damper on your career for the rest of your life. Like
Yeah.
you never play a sport again, let alone never walk again.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, with all this stuff going on, especially with the CTE and
In
and the
football, yeah.
concussions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really like, thankfully, the NFLPA, the NFL Players Association, there are good benefits within the NFL. Some of them. Now, like for instance, I was able to get insurance after I retired up to 7 years. I don't know what 7 years is. My injuries are for forever. Um, and my body still sucks. So I don't know what the 7 years is.
Sure.
But as far as like player annuity that the club invests on my behalf, is awesome. The 401k,
Mm-hmm.
the NFL pension that I get. So it's all of this stuff adds up. But I also thought when I was playing that I was going to play football for the rest of my life, even though I didn't know. I knew it was. I wanted to be able to provide for my kids for the rest of my life from football.
Sure.
Obviously, I played 6 years.
And that's the thing I was going to ask too. How old were you in
Oh,
2014?
you're gonna do the math. So, um, I think I was probably in 2016. So I was 25, 26,
In 2014 or 2016?
20. Hold on. So, so I was 2014. I was 25 years old.
Okay. I mean, that's so context,
Yeah.
right? Like, I think that's important sometimes too to understand. You're 25. We just talked
Yeah.
before, prefrontal cortex is fully developed,
Yeah.
finally at
Yeah.
25. And essentially, at that point, in the NFL at least, when you include injuries, you're like the old veteran. That's
Yeah.
It's wild to think about for someone who comes out of college, comes out of an undergraduate degree, goes and gets a master's degree, and they're going into a career path field
Yeah.
at that same age.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting my career. And in a lot of ways, yours from that perspective was going to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy again, because you think that you're going to play this sport the rest of your life. Obviously, your body has a different story to tell, but it's a part of the process.
Yeah.
It's a part of the territory and what you signed up for.
Yeah. And you talked about purpose, and you talked about, God has a purpose and a plan for you. And you even mentioned before your why, which, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like from what I'm hearing you say, your why was football, and that kept carrying you through, and your belief in yourself, right? And I think there's some naiveness that needs to occur when you're in that elite level of saying, like, I'm going to do this forever, because you've got to be fully bought in to the idea of like, I'm doing this. Because if you're not, I mean, at any level of athletics or any level of high performance, like that's when you're going to get hurt, or that's when you're going to get passed up. But it sounds like, and from what I know, from what you're doing now, like you found a purpose, you found a why. Can you elaborate on what you've realized now, where you're at, what your why is, or what your purpose is getting clearer on as to what it is you're doing now and what you're going to keep doing?
Yeah. So my why is interesting. So we kind of talked about it earlier. My why is giving back and helping other people, connecting people, seeing people grow. And so my why when I played football was seeing how happy people were when I would score and look up in the stands and I caught the ball or caught a touchdown. Then when I retired, I started a DJ company, and I was like, well, I need to do something. Because I'm always going. I look at my calendar. If there's nothing on my calendar, I figure like there's something wrong with my day. Like I'm not taking advantage of the time. So I started a DJ company and playing music for people, doing corporate events, doing weddings, having brides come up to me and say, Travis, thank you so much. You were the biggest, you had such an impact on my night. You were one of the biggest things, like you were the biggest attraction. Like, thank you so much for having an impact. Same thing with corporate events. So that's my touchdown right there.
Yeah.
That's my catch. That's looking up in the stands, looking out in the crowd, seeing the bride having the time of her life. So then I started doing medical device sales.
Okay.
When you think about like what the why is that obviously I didn't go to medical school, but being in the operating room and having a surgeon say, hey, Travis, I don't know, what do you think I should do here? And them relying on me and looking at every patient on the table as if it was my mother, and just being able to have a drastic outcome on being able to get this surgeon out of this surgery. That's my touchdown. That's my catch. That's my why in the medical device industry.
Yeah.
Then I get over to corporate sales with the Badgers, the corporate partnerships, and marketing is a part of it. There's business development, but it's the opportunity for me to think outside the box. And this is the first time in a role, in a job, that I can think outside the box. You can't think outside the box in medical device sales. You'll end up getting sued. You can't.
I mean, there's massive detail, right? With
Exactly.
it. And I think a lot of things you're talking about, the DJing and that kind of stuff, there's a ton of preparation work that goes into it.
Yep.
But the missing piece, at least what I'm hearing, is there's an improv piece.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, very, very critical in sport.
Yeah.
You can have the best plan in the world, and then the person across from you does something that's completely unexpected, and now you have to pivot.
Exactly. Being able to change, being a chameleon.
Yeah.
And embracing change. But really, again, my why was seeing other people succeed and making other people happy. Like that was my purpose. That's my why, and I get the ability to do that now with UW.
Yeah. So then, with what you're doing now with marketing, with sales and corporate sales, and even you mentioned too, before we got on, talking to different corporations that don't have any idea who Travis Beckum is, potentially like a lot of our audience members. Yeah. But how are you now impacting people? How, like, What's your touchdown
Yeah.
now?
Yeah.
What's your big catch now?
Yeah. So great question. And it's more so, I think within what I do, we have a lot of solutions,
Hmm.
but with every solution there, you got to figure out what the problem is. And being able to connect and build relationships is the biggest thing, is especially when it comes from a business development opportunity or marketing. When you're investing in something, a lot of it comes, I mean, that's investing from a specific part of your brain. Like that's an emotional part of your brain,
Hmm.
and really building on those emotional and those more, having this be more relational and learning about the person, learning about the brand. What does the brand represent? What are the morals? What are their values? And coming up with creative solutions to integrate, whether it's our student athletes, whether it's the Motion W, whether it's signage on TV, or supporting your philanthropic ideas. It's awesome because it gives me the opportunity. My role gives me the opportunity to learn about people, learn what they stand for, and really come up with ideas and concepts that help them from a business development standpoint, a revenue growth standpoint, a brand awareness
Oh,
standpoint.
yeah, right.
Basically anything that a brand is looking for. And it's awesome because a lot of times you learn what people are struggling with when you ask them, well, who is your brand, and where are you trying to go? And through
Mhm.
them telling you that, you learn more, and you can really come up with some really cool ideas to have an impact on their company.
When I think about that kind of role, I mean, there's almost what I envision for you. It's you have the playbook, right? You know all the ins and outs and
Hmm.
kind of what you can do, and you've done your due diligence and your homework on that stuff.
Yep.
And then you go and you have a conversation
Yeah.
and you build relationships and you do
Yep.
what you talked about from the get-go, which was connections,
Hmm.
right? And being a good person when you go and talk to somebody. And I can't tell you a person that I engaged with prior to us meeting and talking, like Travis Beckum. And they're like, oh, that guy's a great guy. Like that's all
Yeah.
I heard from everybody that I talked to. And and that's evident in terms of like how you build relationships and
Yeah.
partnerships. But then that also makes it that much easier because, and this is how I feel like, I've owned a gym for 13 years,
Hmm.
how we don't sell. I'm not trying to sell you on
Yeah.
training.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what do you need?
Hmm.
What are you trying to get better
Hmm.
at? And how can we use the tools that we have access to help you get better?
Yep.
Right. And I think good salespeople who are selling things they're passionate about,
Hmm.
that's all it comes down to at the end
Yeah.
of the day, right?
Yeah.
It's you go, I want to learn more about you. I want to
Yeah.
understand you better and what your struggles and your challenges are. And then hopefully we have something that could be a solution
Yeah.
for you. And if not, cool.
Yeah.
We have a relationship now and maybe in the future it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's a unique position because again, like even when you talk about um, getting a membership at a gym, like that's like a brotherhood or a sisterhood or a community. Like you feel supported. That's a place where you go and you're trying to perfect yourself. You're trying to get better, and you feel like you can invest in yourself, and you're supported by others,
Mhm.
and that's your why. And my why with the corporate partnerships is that it's crazy because I have a lot of acquaintances, but I
Mhm.
have a very small circle of friends.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel you on that.
and I think that's a part of, again, that's a part of growing. It's not always like, yeah, you might know a lot of people, but building relationships with good people is huge, and keeping that circle small. And so my why is that I have a lot of those relationships that I have, those friendships are through work.
Hmm.
And it's very sometimes it might be a little too personal, like as far as like me investing too much, because with us building a partnership, I think it's mutually beneficial. It's not just a sponsorship where you're putting your name on something and hoping it sticks. Like
Yeah.
I'm invested in making your brand great. Like that's the thing with me, is that when you invest your marketing dollars or your philanthropic ideas into UW, like I'm a part of making this great.
Hmm.
And I think from a standpoint of being a brand ambassador, like for UW, that's who I am. I'm also that when I go and have dinner on Thursday nights. Like
Hmm.
that's just who I am, and that's
At
really
all times, right? Like it's like I
exact
wear this hat
exactly
24/7.
exactly,
Yeah.
and I love it.
Hmm.
Um, and sales is sales, but selling something that you're passionate about is even better. And seeing people invest in you and trusting you and having those relationships. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some guys that are in sales that are straight salesmen, and you can tell.
Yeah.
But I get the ability to get really creative with customized solutions to really help whatever your objectives are.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you make a really good point there, right? Like you're always on, in a sense of that. That's also why it's important to have that close group of friends where you can be off.
Yeah, yeah.
With, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like I feel the same way. It's like I have people who are in my circle that, in a lot of ways, are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Also, right? Because they understand the day to day that I go through.
Yeah.
And sometimes being able to just shut off or just be able to have a conversation
Yep.
where you don't feel like you have to be.
Yeah.
So I can appreciate that 100%.
No, absolutely. And it's great to have a circle of people that support you. Mm-hmm. They support you and they challenge you.
Yeah.
Again, I've had acquaintances before where I've questioned and I was like, you know what? Like, what value do they bring?
Mm-hmm.
What is their purpose? And so I've done a lot of growing. And I think it's really good to have that small group of people that you can really, and you can be yourself in front of them.
Yeah.
You can take off the hat sometimes, but they know your true meaning and value.
Yeah. Which, I mean, at the same token, I feel like when you're doing it right, what you embody most of the time is still your true self, right? But there's just times where you're in a situation, you're like, I have to put on a different face, a different hat. Than maybe my pure truest self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And kind of in that regard, because I feel like what I was really fascinated by, or what like interested me when we first talked, was, you know, the passion that you have for your role currently, where you're going to corporations, you're talking about, hey, how can we help build your brand, create awareness through advertising, marketing, that sort of thing. You know, how can the Badgers and the Badgers athletics help you, and your interest in helping young athletes, especially nowadays with, and it's interesting because I don't live in a world of sports, but I'm a sports fan and I'm around it a lot, right? And I'm reading articles and that kind of thing. So to me, the idea of NIL, name, image, likeness, is, I say NIL and I'm like, oh yeah, like that. Yeah. But I realized the other day, bringing it up in a meeting of other business owners, like some people have no idea what name, image, likeness is or what that's even about. And the fact that college athletes beyond scholarships now can get paid and paid substantial amounts of money. I mean, effectively be professionals now. And we're talking about, right, 25 where the brain's fully grown and developed. Yeah. And, you know, now we're talking, well, at 18 years old, guys can get paid millions of dollars. Yeah. And how do you navigate that? And how do you, like, they need mentorship. Yeah. And it sounds like you've been doing some of that. So I'm curious how that factors into everything.
Yeah. So, so there's multiple levels to it too. So I also was still am a brand ambassador for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I would do all these NFL alumni events and do all these Big Brother and Sister events, and support the cause, support the mission. And
were you did you have a big brother?
I did not.
Okay,
I did not. But my last, we came up with a concept last year. It was during the NFL draft, to come up with a big Big Brothers Big Sister draft. So basically, we wanted to basically have 100 new mentors, recruit 100 new mentors to become bigs during the NFL draft.
Nationally?
Just in Dane County.
Locally,
but
wow.
Just in Dane County.
Awesome.
So, long story short is we ended up doing it. We got 100 and I think 100 and either 14 or 44. I couldn't remember, but so I would go to these events. I would support the littles, and I was just like, I can't support something if I'm not investing in it myself. And so I wasn't a big. And so I was like, you know what? I reached out to Dane County, Sandy at Dane County. I said, how do I become a big?
Yeah.
So I became a big. And when we recognized all of the bigs, that became mentors. I was one of them. And I have a little now. He's 11. He's amazing. But I just feel like I wanted to have more of an impact. You can put my name on a piece of paper and say that I support this, but until I'm really actually investing in engaging and using the power of mentorship to really help the younger generation grow
Yeah.
and find out who they are. And it's not always about the impact that you have with them. It's really about the impact that they have on you. So I started with Big Brothers, Big
It's
Sisters.
both directions, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so it started with Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but also I have the opportunity to build relationships with the current student athletes.
Yeah.
And they have a ton of pressure on them. They are human. And especially now with the change of money that's being thrown around, like people come out of the woodwork, families make it seem like they need to send all of their money back. And so what I get the ability to do is really help guide them, because I've done this myself. I've been in those situations. I haven't gotten money from in college, but once I started getting paid in the NFL, or even when I was the number 2 linebacker or number 2 tight end in the country, people are like, okay, well, they see dollar signs, he's going to play in the NFL. Family members start coming out of the woodwork. And so really trying to help navigate them and keeping their circle small and making them know that you don't owe anybody anything was extremely important to me. And so I work with them. But then on the brand side, as far as NIL, I think a lot of people get it confused with, because the big thing about NIL is like you see these $1 million deals and this quarterback getting $4 million. He goes to this school one year and comes out the next. That's not what I do. I work on behalf of the brands. So when I talk about I need to know who the brand is, I need to know who the brand is. I need to know what the brand's goals are, what the brand means. When someone looks at your logo, what do they envision? Because that's a part of your brand. That's your story. Okay. And then once I know that, I can work with student athletes. And at the same time, I need to know the student athlete.
Right.
I want to know who the student athlete is off the field or off the ice or off the volleyball court. And so once I know about the student athletes, I can say, you know what? You might be a good brand ambassador. You might be a good brand ambassador for this company. You have some companies that, say, for instance, they're in construction. We have, as of yesterday, we have 59 student athletes that are engineering majors. It's actually unbelievable to look at some of these majors.
How they're doing what they're doing and being an athlete.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's really focusing on who the student athlete is, and then pairing them, connecting them with a brand that makes sense. When NIL first came out, it was like, let's get the biggest name student athlete, put them with a brand and hope it sticks. That's not, I'm not here to try and put money into student athletes' pockets. I'm here to try and build a relationship between a brand and a student athlete. And now there's times where it's like, I've gotten the student athletes internships.
I was just going to ask that, right? Like,
exactly.
I mean, because it sounds to me like in a lot of ways, you're almost building an internship pathway pre-internship.
Well, that's spot on, because I mean, we've done stuff with like Exact Sciences and UW Health. Like, we've done micro internship programs where we've had 15, 20 student athletes that have wanted to learn more and engage with those brands. And it's really awesome to see, but you really have to know who the student athlete is. Because just because the student athlete is the best player on the field doesn't mean he's the best candidate
representative
for a brand.
Yeah. Well, and like you said too, they're humans.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just dollar signs, and the most dollar signs equals the highest level athlete.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about the way you're thinking about it, it's like, okay, this person has this passion.
Yeah.
This company has this purpose. This is a match made in heaven.
Yeah.
Versus this individual who is a superstar, you know, might not necessarily align with the biggest brand that we have.
Yeah.
However, there might be other ones that make sense because, again, it's, you know, and I think that to me, that's what's really cool about it, is because this podcast, I mean, is aptly named The Human Athlete, because I want to bring on individuals who could be deemed as, you know, and even if you do like a Wikipedia or Google search of you, there's very little out there about the stuff that you're doing.
Yeah.
But like, I'm listening to this
Yeah.
and the tone in your voice, like you are passionate about this
Yeah.
stuff, right?
I appreciate it because that's everyone has a story, and this is a huge part about my story. And I think too is that football football gave me a platform
Mm-hmm.
and has a huge part of my story and gives me access to be able to it gives me credibility
Yeah.
to be able to talk to these student athletes, to go
Mm-hmm.
out and speak to these nonprofits. And it just, I'm very fortunate that football has given me that ability. But now it's like, how can I continue to give back? How can I continue to support? How
Yeah.
can I continue to see people grow and prosper? Again, that just kind of goes back to my why
Yeah.
and really what my overall purpose is.
I mean, it's awesome, man. And I think that, from the standpoint of the direction in which this is headed, and really nobody knows with NIL
Yeah,
and just because it's just become such a huge business. I mean, NCAA was a business,
yeah,
right? But now we're involving these kids, and I think there's only so many agents to go around.
yeah,
And I think also too, and this is something that was really interesting to me, was when the NIL kind of thing first all happened. It's like, someone like Livy Dunn
hmm,
from LSU was a great example to me of why this stuff is so important. Because someone like that who is in a sport that is a non-revenue generating
hmm,
sport
hmm,
at a school that is massively huge. LSU is huge in football, but like probably wouldn't have an opportunity to make any money or develop anything
yeah,
out of that. And someone saw the potential in her. She's beautiful,
hmm,
right? And she's also a pretty stellar gymnast.
yeah,
And we can take this and help her build something out of this. I mean, I think there's so many sports that are non-revenue generating sports with unique stories, unique personalities. If there's that person who's, you know, engaging with them and learning about them and going, hey, this softball player is an incredible personality and she's got great charisma,
yeah,
and could be a great fit for this
yeah,
sports drink brand or whatever it might be,
yeah,
like awesome that there's someone who's able to start to
yeah.
pair those things up.
Yeah, there's so many awesome stories, and again, it is about the student athlete and not the sport that they play. And I've done some really awesome stuff with rowers and swimmers,
Yeah.
and these aren't about the revenue generating sports, and sometimes it's the student athletes that don't get a ton of opportunities that are going to be the best people to represent your brand, and like and this is a revenue generating sport, but I think it was 2 years ago. So we were did had an opportunity with Bank 59, and they wanted to use student athletes that are from the Waukesha area,
Oh, okay.
and so we used Carter Gilmore and Molly Schlosser, and so it was for blessings in a backpack, and it's basically giving filling up the backpack for kiddos in the area that
Underprivileged kiddos.
exactly
Yeah,
that couldn't
sure.
afford lunch. And what we did was on the way there is I took Carter and I learned about Carter. He was opening up to me, and it was really awesome to hear. Like it was like obviously with mental health now is extremely impactful, especially the impact that it has in sports.
Hmm.
But Carter was talking about how he's taken on that role, and he was like, I want to be that person. I want the student athletes I want my teammates to come and talk to me and tell me their thought. And he's taken on that. I said, Carter, I love this for you.
Yeah.
I go, but also at the end of the day, you have to make sure that you're good, and you can't be taking on all
It's
these
easy
burdens.
it's easy to take that on,
Exactly.
right? But then all of a sudden it's like, who's helping you?
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, so with that being said, like that just gave me that much more respect for him, because
Hmm.
again, you can look at these student athletes on the court and on the field and in the pool, but you don't know who they are. And
Hmm.
I think it's really cool that I get the opportunity to connect brands with these student athletes to tell their story.
Yeah.
Brands have a story. Our student athletes have a story. Just what they do on the court is just one piece of that.
I mean, it's a very small snippet, right? And anybody who's played athletics
Yeah.
realizes that the competition, right? And I mean, I think this mentality started to trickle down. I don't know when exactly, but you practice so hard the game becomes easy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because you practice so much
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
than you actually
Yeah.
play and perform.
Yeah.
And the bigger the sports get, the less access the general public
Yeah.
has, or even desire they have to pay attention
Yeah.
to what's happening during football practice or spring ball or whatever. I mean, there's just not that. But come game day,
Yeah.
everyone wants to be
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and that's essentially where you get judged. And it's like, again,
Yeah.
they aren't superheroes out there. Yes, there are God-given talents that they have, or genetic blessings that they have, size and speed and height and whatever else. But man, we're all still humans.
That's just one portion of it. Yeah. And that's the thing. There is, and now that there's money involved, it's even more of a they're under more of a microscope now, and yeah, it's a crazy world. I mean, I never thought that we would get to where we were, but I also thought that into quarantine was never an actual real thing. I thought it was just like an I Am Legend thing, but you never know. But just me being able to really to connect with the student athletes and learn more about them. And again, like me investing in them, in the mentorship roles and taking them out to eat. And that's not a part of my job. Like now we have a specific team that handles and schedules the deals for the student athletes or has them go out and do introductions. But like I'm actually invested in trying to perfect their craft and tell them my story from personal experiences.
I mean, you're a mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's yeah, and I think about that too. It's so fulfilling. It has to
Yeah.
be so fulfilling
No, absolutely.
to be able to do that on a regular basis.
Absolutely. It's just, I just always think that, yes, there are people that are paid to come and talk to the student athletes and talk about financial literacy, or talk to them about NIL opportunity. But those guys are paid to do that. Like I'm doing it because I've actually been there and how, and a lot of times when it comes to student athletes, they're like, you've never stepped a foot in my shoes. How dare you? Like, you don't know my story. You're paid. You went to school to learn this. Like there's a difference between learning about something and actually being there, hands-on in the fight. Like it's completely different and hits on a different level.
For sure. And I think from the standpoint of the audience we have and kind of what I'm continuing to try and build with this as we keep growing and it keeps getting bigger and bigger is to find a way somehow, some way. And again, I'm not even totally sure yet how it's going to all play out, which is, I think is kind of cool about it
Yeah.
compared to what I've done in the past, is build a community.
Yeah.
Right. And to have a way for people to feel like, okay, now we've heard Travis's story. He's human. He's not just the former football player. He cares. He's passionate about connecting and mentoring, that sort of thing. Obviously, when it comes to UW athletes, it's a pretty small, tight-knit community because they're all able to kind of be in a similar area and everything else. And I feel like probably have pretty good awareness of who you are, the ability to find you and that kind of stuff. But for someone who maybe doesn't know that's a UW athlete or going to be, or even somebody who's just going like, hey, it sounds like he's, helping people and might be someone that's worth talking to or connecting with. What's the best way for people to find or engage with you, where it's not invasive on your time, but also allows you to keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah. And I appreciate you asking that because, I mean, I think LinkedIn is a great way. Instagram, I read. I still read my stuff, read my DMs. I think it's still also when the kiddos send me mail and ask me to sign a card for them. But it's not just with student athletes. Like I think it's people in general. Like I love people and I love being able to have an impact. Again, some of my best relationships are through work. And there are some people some of my partners that have relationships with UW. And it's not so much on the athletic side. It's more so about campus because I'm also helping campus create scholarships for students and create opportunities to give them more visibility on campus and enhance their workforce pipeline and their recruitment. And so there's so many different avenues that I like to go, because I'm just like, they're like, here, Travis, this is what you have to be in. And I'm way over here because I think everyone has a different story. You need to get customized. But like you said, it isn't just with student athletes. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, because I think everyone has a different story. And with me being, and with sports being a huge part of my life and gave me the platform, I'm in corporate America now. And it's great that I get to talk with the student athletes about the transition for life after sport, and then what it is to go in corporate America, which is a whole different skill set that you have to utilize.
Yep.
I love people, and I just think when it comes to not working with the student athletes, the sports concept just gave me credibility.
Yeah.
Now I'm still human, and I just want to have a positive impact on people's lives.
I love it, man. Thanks for the conversation. Thanks for the interview.
Absolutely.
This has been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to the feedback we get from our audience and hopefully a long-standing, ongoing community.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you having me. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to The Human Athlete. These conversations remind us that who we are beyond sport matters just as much as who we were in it. If this episode made you think or helped you see your own story a little differently, share it with someone who might need to hear it. I'm Jared Markowitz, and until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep finding ways to win the game that matters the most, life.